it was Salman Bhai who met me in 2018. He was like, "यार आपको तो acting करना चाहिए." Uh, just so he was like, it just kind of happened. Then he said, "आपको मैं role दूंगा," and it just so happened he called me one day to his house and he said, "मेरे पास एक role है, film का नाम है राधे. So why don't you, act in the film?" So I said yes. I didn't even think about it. मैंने ज़्यादा सोचा भी नहीं. I just kind of said yes and jumped on the opportunity. First time I was in front of the camera, the first day of the shoot, uh, my scene was a very physical scene. Like a little bit of action was there in it, and मैंने कभी नहीं किया ऐसा, कुछ सोचा भी नहीं मैं करने वाला हूँ. So I was very nervous, and my first scene was with Salman Khan. So I was like super nervous, and Prabhudeva sir was very, very, very patient with me. He said, "Do this, do that." Really guided me through the scene.
Hi Arjun, good to see you. How's it going?
Good to meet you. Good to meet you. I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Doing well. जैसे सबका हाल है बस अपना ही चल रहा है. I mean, tough times for everyone, yeah. I mean, we thought it was
Absolutely.
well past us, but we didn't anticipate what we were, what we are dealing
Yeah,
with.
it's fun. I mean, definitely unforeseen.
True. But anyways, आप तो famous हो गए हो, तो famous singer, what does he think about being famous?
नहीं, actually ये गाना it was not supposed to be made in that tone. मैं आपको बताता हूँ, मैंने ये गाना घर बैठे बैठे ही बनाया था लॉकडाउन में, ये 2-3 हफ्ते पहले. तो घर बैठा था, मैं बहुत डिप्रेस हो गया था. अभी क्या क्या बोले, it's a bad time for everybody and we're just sitting at home not doing anything. So I wanted to make like a positive song, something that makes me feel positive, makes me want to make me more music. तो मैं लिखने लगा और ये गाना बन गया. And actually my goal with this song is to make people feel that for a few seconds.
Okay.
यार मैं भी famous हूँ, and that's and I'm hoping that people can sing along and feel that.
True.
So that's the goal of the song.
And Mumbai Police also used that, yeah, to ask people to mask up and just be.
Yeah, Mumbai Police. They used a still from the trailer of Radhe, which I'm there. Yeah. So I mean,
yes, of course.
I was happy about that. I was happy about that.
And talking about Radhe, you're making your debut as an actor, and how come उसमें गाना नहीं गा रहे हो but act कर रहे हो? How was it? Is it difficult for a singer? Though apparently you have been to acting school as well. So how did it take so long to make that transition?
That's a question I ask every day. तो मैंने actually इसके साथ मेरी गलती है. I feel कि I was not. I think I was just too distracted. मैं पहले सिंगर बनना चाहता था, फिर एक्चुअली मैं पहले म्यूजिक कंपोजर बनना था. फिर आशा भोसले सेड आपको गाना चाहिए, तो मैं गाने लगा. फिर आई रियलाइज किया मुझे गाना भी है. और फिर मुझे 2013 में मुझे ऐसा लग रहा था कि मुझे एक्टिंग करना है थोड़ा सा. तो मैं चला गया था न्यूयॉर्क और वहाँ पर आई वाज जस्ट लर्निंग हाउ टू एक्ट. एंड आई डिसाइडेड आई वांट टू बी एन एक्टर. एक्चुअली आई स्पेंट अ ईयर ओवर देयर. आई केम बैक. मैं सोच रहा था कि अभी मैं तो सब कास्टिंग डायरेक्टर के पास जाने वाला हूँ, एक्टिंग करने वाला हूँ. और जैसे मैं लैंड हुआ यहाँ पर म्यूजिक में वापस घुस गया. I don't know how it just happened. I just got a call from a few labels और उन्होंने कहा कि यार we heard that you're back in India and we want to sign you. So I got sucked back into the music world और मेरा एक गाना आया था 2015 में, बाकी बातें पीने बाद, which was my debut in pop music and that was a big hit. उसके बाद I think music took over my life. So it was Salman Bhai who met me in 2018. He was like, यार आपको तो acting करना चाहिए. So he was like, it just kind of happened. Then he said, "आपको मैं role दूंगा," and it just so happened he called me one day to his house and he said, "मेरे पास एक role है, film का नाम है राधे. So why don't you, act in the film?" So I said yes. I didn't even think about it. मैंने ज़्यादा सोचा भी नहीं. I just kind of said yes and jumped on the opportunity to do it.
So what can you tell us about your role in Radhe? And what was it like facing the camera as an actor and not a singer?
It's a very different thing to be facing the camera as an actor, to be honest. It's because when we act in our music videos, we don't have dialogues. Dialogues जब भी नहीं रहते हैं, तो फिर it's much easier. I feel dialogues are a game changer. And I think that for first time I was in front of the camera, the first day of the shoot. My scene was a very physical scene. Like a little bit of action was there in it, and मैंने कभी नहीं किया ऐसा, कुछ सोचा भी नहीं मैं करने वाला हूँ. So I was very nervous, and my first scene was with Salman Khan. So I was like super nervous, and Prabhudeva sir was very, very, very patient with me. He said, do this, do that, really guided me through the scene. So it was an experience. I can't tell you much about the role because I'm not allowed to. My role is such that it's a little bit difficult to explain also. क्या कर रहा हूँ film में. Because it's very involved with the story rather than so if I say anything about my character, it also gives away a lot about the story. So that's why my role has been kept a little bit secret.
Looking forward to that because Wanted was actually the movie that changed Salman's fortunes big time, and so what was it like? And everyone is looking forward to Radhe. What was it like working with him and with Prabhudeva, who's also a dancer and is a director? So what is that synergy like? Is it also like a dance set?
No, I mean, I'm a big fan of both, to be honest. I had a great experience shooting the whole thing. It was a very supportive set. It wasn't just me, right? There was like so many other good actors on set. Like Randeep Huda, who I got to learn a lot from. Salman Bhai was there. Prabhudeva sir was there. There were all the other guys who are in the film. Gautam Gulati. There was like a couple of actors from Marathi cinema. So I mean, there was everybody you can think of under the sun. They were doing some part in the film. I got to see a lot. मैंने कभी इस scale पे project नहीं किया है कभी. It was my first big scale project to be part of. और मुझे सीखने के लिए बहुत मिला. I think everybody was very, very supportive about a singer being an actor. I thought I would actually face some, some kind of apprehension, but I think everybody was very welcomed me with open arms. It was quite nice.
Actors, a lot of actors are trying to sing आजकल वो गाने भी गाते हैं. अभी the other way around, So I mean, it can be, and also, and back in the day, you had Kishore Kumar who did that. Yeah, he sang, he acted also.
Absolutely.
Maybe that era will be back, na singer actors.
It depends. It's an incredibly hard thing to do. It's I think that Kishore Kumarji was he was a once in a generation artist. The impact that he's had on Indian cinema, I don't think that it'll happen every once in a while. But if it does happen, I'll be very happy.
Chalo, maybe you could start the new trend, yeah. Who knows?
Who knows, yeah.
But honestly, tell me, what has it been like for singers? Because we've seen a lot of independent music being created during the lockdown. And I also was told that you, like this entire generation, is being listening to K-pop. I listen to singles of them in the dramas. Yeah. I don't follow a group as such, but I prefer the singles. But where do you feel the Indian pop music industry needs that new synergy? Where do you think it is going now?
It's a very difficult question to answer because every time I answer this question, I'm wrong. I was like, in 2015 when I started doing this, I was one of the few artists who went from Bollywood to pop rather than the other way around. Yeah. And it was very intentional. मेरे दिमाग में था कि this is a genre that has to grow. ऐसे हो ही नहीं सकता कि ये genre नहीं grow होगा because India is finally getting its own cultural identity in terms of films and music. And that's happening for the first time because we are comparing ourselves with all the international musicians in the world. So, and we are finding out who we are as a culture musically in films. And that was the time that was in 2015 where nobody was willing to release my single on radio, TV. And fast forward to 2018 where I dropped a single, it crossed 100 million views. I mean, there was such a big change in a matter of 3 years where I said in 2015, yeah, it's at least 5-7 years away. I was wrong about that. I knew it was going to change, but I didn't know it was changing so fast. And now you see all the big musical artists are actually non-film artists. In today's day and age, the ones who are doing well with the young generation, the ones who are selling albums and selling music are the ones who are able to do non-film music as well as film music. The biggest artists in the country today, like whether it's Neha Kakkar or Badshah or Arjit Singh, they're all doing a bit of both.
Yeah.
So I think that is the major change, that when your heavy hitters start adopting these policies and say that, we're going to do both, that's a real indicator that, things are changing in a big way. And I see that only changing further and further. I see us crossing over to other countries. We're already doing that in our, more Bollywood obsessed countries around the world. But I see it happening more and more across the board. You'll find artists in India singing in English. Like I remember last year, Barack Obama released a list of his favorite musicians, and Pratik Kuhad was on that list. So I mean, it just goes to show that people are taking notice and things are changing quickly. So, I mean, it's it's a matter of time where musicians are treated in the same way they're treated in the rest of the world.
And Sunidhi Chauhan said something very interesting when someone told her that in my interview that stop singing for actors. If you are singing, you should be the face of it. What do you feel? Because
I've
you
said that
end up
since
being the voice
2015.
of that.
That's why I'm in my own videos. The initial push for me to do non-film was कि यार मेरे गाने पे आप कोई actor पे क्यों डालोगे? It doesn't make any sense to me. Like it's not like I can't act. I studied acting. So आप क्यों करोगे? And in fact, my first song, I faced a little bit of backlash for that, and they said, "Arey, kuch actor डाल दो." I said, "No way, no, not happening. I love the song. I think it's going to be a big hit." So that's how it came about. So I think that kind of persistence from musicians has paid off. Across the board, musicians are doing that more and more.
And also the perception to realize that it's actually the melody that gets the person, because a person like me who's listening on streaming platforms like Spotify and JioSaavn, I'm not thinking about the actor. I'm actually listening to the melody, the song. The actor will just come. So I think this is something we also need to encourage. Like, it'll give people, that there's so much of talent, it'll give them that encouragement. But what do you feel is the need of the hour in the music industry? Because as K-pop growing popularity, it's also being pushed by the Ministry of Culture, Sports and Tourism there, to create that Hallyu wave, to make them the soft power. What do you feel should be done here to give that kind of impetus to Indian music? Because we don't have any talent.
First of all, I have to give you mad props for knowing all these things. I think that it's one of the first interviewers who know all these things about the music industry. So, I think that the reason why K-pop is so successful, especially internationally, is because as a nation, as a culture, as a government, they have made this decision to export their culture. And if I'm being very honest, I think America's greatest export is their culture, and that's why they're able to have so much influence around the world. And I think it's one of the best strategies in terms of just getting new markets abroad for cinema and music. I think the government support makes a huge difference. So if that happens in India, that would be amazing. I really think that if we have like some kind of government intervention to push our music abroad and say that, these are our artists, But I think that that's going to take a long time because, first of all, I don't think the older generation in India is actually in tune with what the younger generation is doing. We have that big rift where, it's in my own family that, the common topic is like, yaar, Kishore Kumar jaisa koi hai hi nahi India mein. They are still stuck in that space. Rafi Saab jaisa koi hai hi nahi. So, they are still stuck in that mindset that that's the kind of sound that works. And they compare every song to that sound. And whether or not they're right or wrong is not the question. It's whether or not it's feasible in today's day and age to release more music like that and whether it will work. And that I've seen again and again that that's not the case. The younger generation is looking for something new. They're looking for their own identity. I think it's a matter of time where we find that identity. That's the problem number one. And I think the reason we have not been able to solve this export problem is because we have not solved the first problem, which is what is our identity internationally? Like, what is it that, that we are trying to give to the world? K-pop has a lot of value. They add a lot of value to people's lives in terms of like what their thought process, and they've kind of organized it and made it a very organized sector. You can go to a school to become a K-pop star. You can, there's like this whole culture around
that training ground. Yeah, I've seen these movies also where they have K-pop competitions and training, and the drill they go through is amazing.
But the number one thing about that is that it's a meritocracy, and we don't have that system here. The one thing that world over that we can respect is a meritocracy. It doesn't matter which culture you're from. The reason why we like American music or we like K-pop is because there is a certain amount of pedigree that comes with it. So we have to self-manage those systems and internally kind of figure out what is it that we value, what is it we're offering to the world, and what is our value system overall that we are trying to offer to the world, and say, hey, this is what we can offer as a nation in the world, So I think those are questions we have to first internally answer before we can say that, we're going to export music abroad, which I don't think we're there yet. I think the need of the hour is that's the need of the hour.
And for you as a musician, I know, there are only online concerts if you do have. Earlier we had everyone jamming on Instagram. I think it'll be a wild till we all have live concerts and all. So what is the current challenge that you per se as a creative person are facing?
I think the current challenge is not knowing what's going to happen in the future. Because we as musicians, we have to be more and more resourceful. So resourcefulness is not anymore a virtue, but like a survival instinct. We just have it now, right?
Yeah.
Because the last 2 years have been difficult. So, but it's very difficult to prepare for something that you don't know, when it's going to happen, what's going to happen. So that's the number one challenge, is that what is the timeline of this crisis? Like, at what point will we have to pivot back into mainstream?
Yeah.
Because we'll have to do that, and so nobody knows that, and that's the biggest challenge right now.
True. And other than that, I was very impressed to read that your gold medal pistol mein mila hai, basketball खेलते थे यार, jack of all. I mean,
Yeah.
ऐसी कौन सी चीज है जो आप नहीं कर सकते हो यार? Sports में भी, acting भी कर ली, music भी कर.
There's lots of things. If you ask my fiance, she'll say I'm very messy. She's like, I'm very disorganized at home. It's like there's lots of things. Lots of things I'm not good at.
कहानी घर की है. So like sports, music, acting. Now what's next on your list?
Honestly, I feel like I have been distracted. I came, being at home for the last 1 year. The one thing about being at home is that it forces you to focus. It forces you to really analyze where you are and what you're trying to do. And I just think I try to do too many things. I think that's my biggest weakness, is that I get distracted easily. And it is true. Like, I have a very strong aptitude to learn new things. Like, I'm learning Japanese right now, and I'm quite good at it now. So
I learned. I failed. I got
You
12
failed?
out of 100. 12 out of 100 I got.
No, I mean,
only know
I'm learning.
arigato gozaimasu, konnichiwa, konbanwa, finish. 12 मिले थे 100 में से.
That's
Very tough, man. Hats off.
It's tough. It's tough. But I go to Japan often. So anyway, that's another story. But what I'm trying to say is that because I have a high aptitude for things, then I get very distracted by it. This is what I want to do, and this is what I want to do. And first it was like acting, and then it was like music. And I've decided in my mind, I'm very clear that this year is going to be all music. It's just going to be music. I've decided to release 25 tracks this year. And
Wow.
yeah, because that's the great part about being an independent musician, is that you can do whatever you want. You can release
You're
whenever
not
you want.
dominated by labels.
Yeah, you
not
don't have a
adhering to
timeline.
them.
Yeah, you can just do whatever you want. And that's the best part about this entire process. So yeah, that's my 1 year plan, is just April to April, release 25 songs. And then, meanwhile, of course, acting will pick up by then, and I'll have a very clear picture of what people think of me as an actor after Radhe. And there's another film coming out of mine, hopefully by the end of the year. So
which one is that? Tell us.
I can't tell you because it's not been announced yet. So we finished shooting for that film, but we don't know we can't say much because they haven't made an announcement. So, but if that comes out by the end of the year, I'll have a very clear idea of what people think of me as an actor and where I need to go. So that's my plan now. That's to focus on these two things and really focus on it and kind of excel at it.
Abhi Japan ka connect batao na, I'm very intrigued.
So I'm obsessed. I think I'm obsessed with Japan. I think that I've been there 6 times now, 6 or 7 times, and it's just something about the culture. I just think there's a kind of like calm and organization to it that it doesn't exist anywhere else in the world. And
but it's also a very stressed out society, huh?
It is. I mean, of course, they have their downsides. I do think that kind of discipline comes with stress. It's bound to happen. Like we have those kind of people in our lives, who are so disciplined that they are always stressed out. So I mean, that's you. Well, you got to like relax, and I think that's where they don't do well. I think they don't do well at relaxing. Yeah.
Totally agree. Chalo, and anyways, Radhe is getting a multi release theaters abroad, and here on OTT platforms. I think it works out well. I mean, I know as a debutant actor, you would have wanted the CT and whistles at Getty Cinema. Hopefully, ho jayega jaldi.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just grateful to be in the film, and I'm grateful that the film is releasing despite the kind of situation we're in. So I would have loved to see myself on the big screen in the cinema, and that would have been great. But I suppose I should count my blessings and just be happy that it's releasing at all. I mean, I'm just so happy. I've waited for this film for 2 years. We started shooting for it in November 2019. So
And it is lovely. जाते जाते एक quirk बता दो Salman and Prabhudeva का that you have observed.
So, I don't know about quirk, but I'll tell you something that Salman Bhai is amazingly charismatic on screen. He also cares about everybody on the set. He's also aware of everybody on the set. Like he's very
और
aware.
खाना बड़ा अच्छा आता है. खाना बड़ा अच्छा
अरे
आता है
मस्त
उनके यहाँ.
आता है. Superb आता है. So it's always good food. And Prabhudeva sir is actually he was the first person to guide me in the film, and he really was there throughout every scene, making sure that I was doing well. So if I do well in this film and people like my role, I would say thank you to the director. And if they don't, then it's my fault because I didn't work hard enough. But he was definitely there with me every step of the way.
Lovely chatting with you, Arjun. All the very best, and I hope to see you
so much,
on the big screen and meet you personally soon.
You too. Thank you so much.
Bye. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
You
Bye.
too.
Bye.
Bye.